Good evening and salutations, my soap opera fans. So, as the title suggests, what are some things that can be better for General Hospital for year 2024? Now, I did a live stream and I asked people, what do you think will be some good things that they could sit there and do to make the soap opera better? Now, I've been pretty vocal and I've been pretty critical about General Hospital. And I'm more critical and more harsher on General Hospital out of the four soap operas because it's the show I've watched the longest. And I've been watching the show since, well, high school, you know? So it's my favorite one. I'm going to be a little bit more critical on it because I've seen the potential that it can sit there and do. With that being said, here's my, list of things that they can do better um, to make the show better. Because at the end of the day, we're fans of the show, and we watch the show when it's not really so great, and playing with the show is not so great, but we still sit there and watch it anyway for reasons unknown. Um, but no, we watch the show anyway because we're loyal fans and we love the characters and things of that nature. But yeah, here's my list. So the first thing that I feel like they need to sit there and do is work out the goddamn pacing issues. Okay? You go back to, we'll sit there and say the Haunted Star. That story took so long for it to actually get to the point where it was actually good. It was ridiculous. Okay? And I know a lot of people will sit there and tune out and tune back in and watch recaps and things of that nature just to kind of get caught up on it. And while that's going on, the ratings are in the nosedives. You know? You look at the Pikeman story right now, right? Which seems like it's going to be a great story, but we have these filler episodes that's going on. We have these holiday episodes and things of that nature, and just a lot of stuff that general people don't care about. You know, it's a good story, but it's taking its slow ass time to get there. And while I don't mind a good level of suspense, a lot of the episodes don't have anything to do with the Pikeman storyline, which is a shame because that's what we're kind of here for at this point in time. I mean, we're here for a lot of other stories as well, but it's like they definitely gotta sit there and deal with the pacing issues and the filler episodes. Which brings me to number two, bloated cast. The one thing that I do genuinely like about General Hospital is the characters. I could have swore somebody asked me, what are some characters that you really don't like, or some female characters that you really don't like, and I can't really think of any. I really can't. Hell, even Nina could be interesting. I may not exactly like her, but she does bring interest to the show. But the problem with it comes down to, again, is bloated cast. You'll have people there because they're there for contract, but they're not really doing anything. You'll have pointless scenes with, let's say, Felicia talking to Maxie. And, granted, while this whole credit card financial stuff is interesting, there's been a lot of times that she's just kind of just been there and you've just been talking about nothing. And it's like, they're there to sit there and run down the clock. And that's an issue for me, you know? And I know people are going to sit there and get so upset because I'm about to bring up another show, and you all know what other show I'm going to sit there and bring on. That's right, Days of Our Lives. They have a way of having the characters be there and having them have a story. Here's the thing, I don't mind characters being there, but if you're not going to be there to push their storylines along, then they're just there to run down the clock. And I feel like with Days of Our Lives, they generally tend to do that a lot better. They'll have the characters there. They won't have as many, but the characters that they got there, they're moving their storylines along. And when they're not needed, they kind of just, shelve them for a little bit. And I can respect that. And that's something that GH needs to do. They need to trim down the damn characters. People always think they're saying, I want this character on the show. I want that character on the show. It's like, you do realize that we already have a large cast in the first place. The ask for more characters is just ridiculous, especially if they're not moving the characters that they already have along or just wasting the characters that they got there. Number three, in a lot of ways, need to bring back Jace to the good old days. I was watching a little bit of Dion or GH Envy's live stream reaction. Went back and they show Carly in the panic room. And I'm like, that was such a good story. We need those good old days. We need the event stories. We need the event stories that brings on the ensemble cast. And I understand there's budget issues and this and that and the third. But Jesus Christ, it felt like when it was 3 o'clock, I couldn't wait to get home to sit down and watch General Hospital because it felt like an event. And it hasn't felt like an event in a very long time. Don't get me wrong, they still do stuff, but it's not as often. It's very far in between. The Haunt the Star, the stuff with Ava and Mason and Dex, it felt really good, and it's great that they're doing that every once in a blue moon. I feel like that needs to actually be more than a current thing. Something that Jonathan said. We come to GH. Yes, they have the romance, they have the suspense, they have the laughter, they have the humor. We also came there for the action as well. We came there for the great suspense. GH needs to sit there and stick to their strengths. I've noticed that particularly a couple weeks ago, or maybe a week or two ago, that they start trying to sit there and do these heartfelt moments. Okay, that's not bad. But where's the other stuff that people came there for? They're not really so good as far as slow burner storyline. That's more of Y&R's thing. One of the things I can appreciate about watching all four shows is that when they play to their strengths, it works well. Because we don't, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't want G's to be like Y&R, and I don't want Y&R to be like GH. They work fine separately, but when you sit there and start trying to do stuff that's outside of what we came there for, it's a problem. They need to sit there and kind of bring it back to the good old days. 4, they need some good villains. Okay? They need some good villains. They're starting to get that with this Pikeman thing, this Brendan guy. But go back to Esme, right? For me, Esme started off as a really good villain. And then what they wound up doing? Squandering her, making her amnesia, being all nice and everything like that, being like, oh, I didn't know, I need to apologize for this, that, and the third. What are you doing? Before she got there, I'm going to be honest, I really did not care that much about the so-called teen storyline with Jocelyn, Cam, Trina. Didn't really sit there and work for me. It was only until Esme came back with Spencer that things started to get interesting. And, but they need some good villains. They need some good villains like Faith Roscoe, Jerry Jacks, Alcazar. I would sit there and ask for Helena, but I feel like with the bar with her is a little bit too high. It's like asking for another Stefano DiMera. The bar is a little bit too high. Or asking for another Asa Buchanan. It's too high. But I feel like they could sit there and try. And they haven't really had any good villains in a very long time. Hell, it took a while before I started to actually consider Victor to be a threat. Hell, I mean, if we're going to be honest, I'm not going to sit there and really get that much of a slack. I'm not going to really sit there and ignore Y&R not actually having good villains. They need some good villains too. I mean, they're starting to get some, which is great, but with GH, they need their good villains because they had good villains in the past. They have villains who are just like, yo, listen, you don't know what this guy or this woman's going to sit there and do next. Oh, even Ava, While I wouldn't sit there and say she was a villain, I felt like she was definitely more of a force to be reckoned with, into the watered down version that we have now. Because we gotta sit there and prop up Carly. Which brings me to number 5, a balancing issue. Jake has always had somewhat of a balancing issue. Even back then, I kind of ignored it and I didn't really notice it too much because in the beginning I was just kind of just still getting used to soaps and stuff like that. But even with that being said, they have a balancing issue, right? They'll put a lot of stories and show a lot more people that sometimes isn't always necessary. We're gonna sit there and start talking about Carly, okay? I remember James said a comment that, of course, he got backlash for, is that I don't need to sit there and see Carly in every goddamn story, right? There was a point where Carly was in a story with um, Alexis and the whole not the whole, yeah, I think the Kiefer sister thing or whatever. And it was like, and this was a time when you had to sit there and switch Alexis. But it was one of those things where it's like, why does Carly need to be in this story? This should be a story about Alexis. Why is Carly in this story? You know, it's one of those things where it's like, I would love to sit there and see more Molly and TJ. And I understand to some extent that there was a point where we couldn't sit there and see more Molly and TJ because, the actress, whatever. We couldn't sit there and see a lot of Christina because of the actress and her schedule. But then I also feel like they should have probably recast a long time ago because it definitely did hurt the story. It definitely did hurt the story. I would have much rather sat there and see, because, one of the things I did sit there and say when they did this whole surrogacy storyline is that I don't really care. I don't really care because they haven't shown Molly and TJ enough to make us care. Of course, they were too busy showing Sonny and Carly and Nina because Nina started to become, well, they did a good job with Nina because at one point Nina was not connected to Sonny. But then you have other people that's just kind of just in the background, like Liz. And that woman's been on the show for like 20 something years. And it seemed like it took them a while to actually give her a good story. And they did. And of course, people got upset because when they gave her a good story, what did they wind up doing? Hijacking it with Finn. Now, while I personally did like the connection, I understood people's frustration. They would put the Corinthos family and Michael and stuff like that first, and everyone else is on the back burner. And it's pretty messed up. They don't have a good balance. They need balance. You don't need to, as much as I love Sonny, there's times where they'll sit there and show Sonny for no reason. And I'm like, you could have spent that time. Like yesterday, I found the stuff with Adam, Maurice Bernard's son, more interesting than just Sonny just being there. But Sonny needed to be there because, you know, the producers and everything like that is like, oh, it's the Sonny show. And it's been the Sonny show for a while. And while I like Sonny, there probably could have been some times where they could have showed less Sonny and showed like maybe more Lucky and Nicholas and stuff like that. But they didn't really have a good balancing issue. So they made it the Sonny show. They made it the Jason show. They made it the Trio show. And that was back then when the show was good. And in a lot of ways, they're still doing that now. And it's unfortunate. Now, that's just my list of things that they can sit there and do that's better. And I know that it sounds like I'm sitting there complaining, but I still watch the show to this day because I genuinely love the show. And I want this show to be better. And I understand it again, they got budget what is budget issues. The soaps don't make as much money and stuff like that they used to. They don't pull in the same amount of ratings that they used to. But We still love it anyway. We just want them to be better. And it starts with the writing and it starts with fixing the goddamn problems that I put on this list. And maybe at one point, maybe at some point, they could sit there and get back to where they were. You know? Anyway, that's just my list of things that they could sit there and do better um, for 2024 of General Hospital. I mean, hell, I would love them to sit there and work on all five, but hell, I'll sit there, at this point, I'll damn near take maybe, I'm going to sit there and say take 2 out of 5, but if they take 2 out of 5, that's a good start. Anyway, with that being said, I'm going to go. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next video.